Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you are. Hello. Thank you for watching my videos. It's Mike. It's May 4th, 2009. Okay, in today's National Post, or the Financial Post rather, Showtime for banks. Stress test results out this week. Alright, well this morning it said out today. I guess someone noticed. It's actually going to be released on Thursday or Friday. The stress test release. What am I talking about? Well, the Fed has been studying the various banks within the United States and has been trying to figure out how much capital these banks need. Now, of course, there are rumors that certain numbers of these banks are failing the stress tests. They said, well, the official line is somewhere in the order of 6 banks, although some earlier rumors have suggested as many as 16 banks. Now, of course, Goldman Sachs went out and actually raised some money, and so they look like they're going to be okay. JP Morgan says they don't need any money, but Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and a few other banks seem to be having some difficulty. So we'll have to wait and see what happens at the end of the week. What else is happening at the end of the week? Well, on Friday, the latest unemployment numbers from the United States will be released. So this could well be another trigger for the stock markets. Linked here from the AFP press agency. China, from 4 days ago, China has cancelled US credit card, says lawmaker. China, wary of troubled US economy, has already cancelled America's credit card by cutting down purchases of debt, a US congressman said on Thursday. Basically, Treasury Department data shows that investors in China have sharply curtailed their purchases of bonds in January and February, never mind March and April. One thing he did state in here was that Kirk said he was the first member of Congress to tour the Bureau of Public Debt, which trades bonds, and was alarmed at how much debt was being bought by the US Federal Reserve due to the absence of foreign investors. Maybe this week no one will buy any bonds other than the Federal Reserve. Should be interesting. Of course, the big news in business today is Fiat in talks to buy General Motors Europe. Now, General Motors in Europe have a couple of big businesses. Basically, they have Vauxhall, which is United Kingdom, and Opel, which is primarily the rest of Europe. Now, they're the same cars, they just have different badges on the front. It looks like Fiat is going to buy the remnants of General Motors in Europe, and we'll have some fun there. Now, over in the UK, Jacqui Smith's secret plan to carry on snooping. Now, this was from the Sunday Times on the weekend. Spy chiefs are pressing ahead with secret plans to monitor all internet use and telephone calls in Britain, despite an announcement by Jacqui Smith, the Home Secretary, of a ministerial climb-down over public surveillance. GCHQ, the government's eavesdropping centre, is developing classified technology to intercept and monitor all emails, website visits, and social networking sessions in Britain. The agent also will be able to track telephone calls made over the internet, i.e. Skype, voice over IP, as well as all telephone calls to landlines and mobiles. The billion-pound snooping project, called Mastering the Internet, will rely on thousands of black box probes being covertly inserted across online infrastructure. Now, a lot of people will claim this isn't real, this couldn't possibly be happening, and indeed the government has backed down today, came out with GCHQ has issued a rare public statement to deny that it's pressing ahead with plans to monitor all internet use and telephone calls in the UK. What is causing all of this? Well, over in Europe, there's this thing called the ETSI, which is a European telecommunications standard. They are a group brought together. I've linked an article from Wikipedia that brings together a number of different communications manufacturers, and the article will indicate how it is they go about doing this. Now, of course, the European Union passed a bill called the European... let me just find it here, sorry. Better get the exact name. The European Council Resolution on the Lawful Interception of Telecommunications mandated similar measures to CALEA. Now, CALEA is the United States version of this, which is the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act. You look at the article, you'll understand how they can monitor every single telephone call, every single website visit, every single email you ever send, etc., etc. Do you think this is new stuff? They do it in lots of European countries already. The UK is just slightly behind the curve. Don't worry, they'll catch up. No worries. Now, an earlier piece on one of my earlier videos was the death of music in the United Kingdom. Global Radio went out and bought all kinds of radio stations and are now rebranding them as Heart. Well, evidently Global Radio has a bit of problem with their debt load. Auditors to Global Radio, the owner of Classic FM and Heart, have raised concerns about the company's future after it failed to reorganize its debts after posting overdue accounts. However, Ashley Tabor, Global's chief executive, dismissed the warning as accounting nonsense. Oh, those goofy accountants, they've got it wrong again. Auditors, yeah, I couldn't believe them. Now, of course, this whole swine flu thing, Mexican flu as they're choosing to call it here in Canada, they've stopped calling it swine flu because they want people to continue buying pork. Never mind the fact that you can't get swine flu from prepared pork, but never mind. If you cook up your back bacon well enough, anything that's in there is going to be dead, so it doesn't matter. However, there's been a new case in Canada where a pig has been infected by a human. So the swine flu has now transmitted from human to animal. And so, of course, it's probably going to mutate a bit more and come out in a few months as something else. Now, this morning in the National Post, they had an article saying the WHO to declare full flu pandemic. Although this afternoon the WHO have backed down and said, no, we're not changing it to level 6 just yet. However, if you look at the article, they are thinking about it quite seriously. Now, why are they thinking about this? Why all this noise? Why all this background noise about swine flu and everything? This avian flu and swine flu and pandemic flu and whatever kind of flu it is. The WHO has basically pointed out that HIV patients are at higher risk from the flu. Well, this makes sense because people with the HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, are more likely to pick up virus bugs. So that makes sense, doesn't it? However, there's one thing you need to know. Third paragraph of this. HIV and the new flu strain could also mix together in a dangerous way, as has occurred with HIV and tuberculosis. The WHO said in guidance for health workers on its website. Although there are inadequate data to predict the impact of a possible human influenza pandemic on HIV-affected populations, interactions between HIV/AIDS and H1N1 influenza could be significant. In other words, the H1N1 influenza could suddenly pick up characteristics of the HIV virus. They're warning you how bad this could get. Now, is this going to be normal? Is it going to be a natural mutation? Or is this a manufactured mutation? Let us wait and see. How to beat this flu that's going around. I linked an article here from a medical journal. This is not some complete nutcase. This is a doctor. He published a number of medical articles. And if you go hunting on the internet for him, you can find some of these things. Dr. J.J. Cannell, I believe his name is. Let me just find it here. Yeah, J.J. Cannell. And the title of this article, Influenza, Epidemic Influenza and Vitamin D. Now basically he has detected a link between vitamin D and influenza. So if you have lots of vitamin D, i.e. go outside and sit in the sun for a bit every day, you're less likely to pick up the influenza. Now, where's this all leading? Okay, now there was an interesting article this morning in The Guardian. Web providers must limit internet's carbon footprint, says experts. Basically, the amount of power that's used by the various server farms around the world dishing out the internet content is quite high. Particularly things like video sharing sites. YouTube, for instance. So they've got this article here all about this carbon footprint of internet websites, blah 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 blah. What are they lining us up for? Well, of course, internet too, and there will probably be a carbon tax tacked onto it for the amount of videos you download and the amount of data that gets transmitted to your machine. Oh, what a wonderful web we weave when we choose to deceive. The end of this last piece here. How can we as normal people fight against this nonsense that is the government and the lies and deceit around us? Linked article from a website, Freedom Force International. The articles, it's actually a series of 4 printed articles, and the 5th one is a video by Mr. Ed Griffin. I believe his name is Ed. Basically saying, okay, who's behind all this? What's the truth here? Now, of course, you can choose to believe whatever you choose to believe. However, the 5th part, the video, should give you some indication as to how we, the people, around the world, can fight against this. Peace, love, understanding. Think about things, folks. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.